So I'd first like to start off with a memory from my childhood that's most memorable to me. So for those of you who don't know what this is a hopper ball. You sit on it and you just bounce. Well, I decided that one night I wanted to be dangerous. I wanted to be Dora. And I only thought I was her just because of the fact that I looked like her. So, for those of you who have not been in my house, this is my staircase. I don't know if it's considered long, but as you can see, it is very steep. So you can probably understand where this story is going to go. I thought if Dora can swing on vines, I can ride this hopper ball down the staircase. So sitting on the top of the staircase, I was thinking in my mind, my mom is going to be so amazed with me. I'm like a jungle cat. But sitting on that staircase, I take that one final deep breath, and I just went for it. Hit the first stair just as planned. Obviously, the rest of my ride down wasn't so smooth, but I'm happy to say I never did something like that ever again. But when I think about that memory, I think about the fact that when it came to me getting hurt or in trouble during my youth, I never did it ever again. But when I do something now that gets me hurt or in trouble, I still try to continue and do it again. For me personally, I don't know if any of you can relate to this. I got in trouble a lot for driving past 9 when I first got my license. My parents were not very happy with me, but there was another key punishment that came with that I'll get to later. But during our youth isn't really just our youth, it's where we learn right from wrong. In other words, it's a period in our lives where we're able to comprehend all this information into our brains, as our brains are still in continuation of development. So this is why we were able to learn and comprehend more. But more importantly, it was really interesting to find out that we were such exceptional learners, especially when it came to cause and effect. Now you may be wondering why is that fascinating, but well, it's sort of the fact that we may think that older, more experienced people would be the exceptional learners, but not in this case. And when younger learners can be, or at least more open-minded than older ones, the researchers found that as they grow older, children become more focused, they plan better, and of course they know more. Yet very young children are prodigious learners, and they are especially good at learning about cause and effect. And this information was supported by the studies that found that children as young as 15 months old can learn specific cause and effect relationships. If, say, the preschoolers were in the room right now, and I put what I'm saying right now in simpler terms for them to understand, I would tell them they have this superpower to be able to understand cause and effect, but more importantly, actions and consequences. When it came to me riding this thing down the staircase, my actions led me to getting hurt, but my consequences were my mother ripped me a new one. But of course, she did make sure I was okay first and gave me a nice little piggy ice pack. But to continue on with the development of the brain, our brains first started out like sponges. They were very flexible and they're able to make connections faster and soak up all this information at once, just like SpongeBob. But researchers found that younger learners may do better because they are less biased by their existing knowledge, or because their brains or minds are inherently more flexible. That might sound like I'm jumping a little bit, but when I saw this quote and what I've learned from doing my research about the brain, it brought me to learning about cognitive learning, which we didn't even realize that we were learning it in our youth, which is falls under all these factors of where we learn attention, language, learning, memory, perception, and thought. So cognitive learning explains the brain's heightened ability to be able to adapt and reorganize itself. And because of this, not really funny, but funny enough, younger individuals are able to assimilate and adapt to new experiences better than older individuals are. sorry. So, based off this information to sum up what I found personally, cognitive learning and the starting development of the brain is the reason behind why we were able to live and learn more while we were younger. But as you know, as we grow, our brains grow with us. We're learning new things that we haven't before. So the knowledge that we gained was just in our younger selves, was just a starting point for us. Despite us knowing that we were smarter when we were younger when it came to mostly just life choices, all that we know now is why we act and make up who we are as a person. More importantly, teenagers have more experience, knowledge, and personality that makes us more who we are compared to when we were kids. But more importantly, teenagers have more brain development. I know I'm talking about the brain a lot, but it's very important, apparently, when it came to this. But all of this is due to the part of the brain called the striatum. I apologize, that's blurry. This is the only image I could find that wasn't like too small. So the striatum is the part of the brain that's really important when it comes to learning. It's how we plan all of our movements and reward-based learning. So when you do something and you feel really good about it, or if you learn something and you feel really good about it, that's the striatum working its part. And how does learning change as we age? Lockwood and Cutler stated that one part of the brain, the striatum, has many receptors for the neurotransmitter dopamine that are crucial for learning. Studies suggest these receptors decline with age, which might help to explain learning changes. The striatum helps by reinforcing habits and skills by responding to positive feedback. This is why we learn from positive experiences and reinforce behaviors that lead to rewards. So overall, the reason behind our slight declining in our learning is due to receptors growing as we grow, but we're not going to have to worry about our learning declining until we're at least like in our 50s or so. I only know this because my father now has the memory of a goldfish. But of course, we're still young, so we don't have to worry about that just yet. Speaking of positive feedback, something similar to it is positive reinforcement. So this is where I'll kind of get into more of the psychological factors of why we do what we do. So for those who don't know what for those who didn't take psychology with the amazing Mr. Cunningham, positive reinforcement is where you get reward for doing something which you want to do, which makes you want to do it again. This is why we understand rewards better than punishment. In this case, when we're older, we don't learn much from punishment. But one example that doesn't really apply to us, but we can understand in our daily lives, raise your hand if you have a pet. So an example of this is, say the dog here, you have them do a trick and you give them a treat. So in their brains, they realize if you have a treat in your hand, you say like, sit. If they sit, that's where they're going to get their treat. So that makes them want to do it over and over and over again just to get that one treat. Researchers Cutler and Lockwood, who are neuroscientists, found that one study showed that adults were able to learn from both reward and punishment, whereas adolescents were able to learn from reward but were less likely to learn from punishment. Punishment doesn't have the same effect, but it can teach us not to do something, but it doesn't necessarily guide us towards better actions like rewards do. This can explain why we do the things we do despite punishment being reinforced. So to go back to this major punishment that my parents gave me, I came home one night, way past 9, and I would have played the whole clip, but there was a lot of yelling and cursing. So I was able to find the one part where they just... Oh no, wait, hold on. I should make sure the volume was up first, sorry.
Button all the way on the right.
Yeah.
There you go. Just hold it down.
Okay,
There you go.
Who'd like to sit on your feet right now?
Oh, you don't try it anymore.
If I wasn't cursing in the beginning, I said I was about to get my A double S kicked, I would have played most of it. But I knew this was coming for me after the angry call I got from my parents. But Life 360, I don't know if your son has Life 360, but Life 360 didn't exactly stop me. I found my way around it, and I still do things without my parents knowing. Have I gotten caught once? Yes. Do I still try to do it over and over again? Yes. But it still didn't stop me. Like 360 should bring Timbers. I don't know if my mom is gonna watch this, but I'm sorry. I'm not gonna tell them how I do it, but I hope she doesn't watch it.
Get back 2 minutes.
Okay. But to overall sum up everything that I have said, the reason behind our declined learning is because of mostly just how we are now today as a person. But this, I can't exactly tell you how to change who you are. But so all I can say is this summer, just make smart choices. And if you have a younger, so when it comes to us being more like smarter when we're younger, if you have a younger sibling, you're like, oh, I'm smarter than you, yada 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 yada. You're not. So apologize. Thank you.